I thought I would just jump on. I've had this topic on my mind for a couple days, and the topic is no response is a response. And so I thought I would just jump on here, and just whoever joins me early. Before I get fully into the day, I wanted to see who could join me live. I noticed when I did a scan of the lives, there was a lot of legal commentary, a lot of war commentary, and there was also a lot of entertainment commentary. So I thought I would do a commentary on no response being a response. Hello, Kevin. Good to see you. So good to see you. How are you doing? Hi, Oliver. Thanks for being here. I'm trying to get on here and do more content, although, life happens and we get derailed. So today's topic is no response is a response. And I thought I would do a poll, but I just, you can go so many different directions with this topic. So there were three main things that I wanted to bring up about no response being a response. First of all, how I took no response in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, and now 50s is quite different than how I take no response now. So as we change, grow, and evolve, so does our response. Kevin's not feeling well today. I'm sorry about that, Kevin. Oh, upset stomach. I look like an angel baby. Oh, thank you. Oh, I haven't been called baby since I don't even know how long. I don't know if that's an acceptable term to approach people in India, but here in the United States, it's not favorable. But again, I've heard auntie too, so I don't know, is that favorable? I mean, you could call me whatever, it doesn't matter, because today we're talking about no response being a response. And this could be a communication via email. It happens at work. It could be a communication with a family member. It could be a communication with an associate. It could be somebody you just met who didn't respond. And sometimes how we interpret our responses is based on always us, right? So how we interpret our reality is always going to be based on what is going on internally with our own self. And also what I've noticed, I used to get into these back and forths on social media all the time. And one thing that I've noticed is that depending on how somebody else is in whatever they are perceiving in their own personal reality, is going to color how you are perceived. And it doesn't have to be good, bad, or indifferent. It just is what it is, and how you are perceiving them in their reality is going to be based on what's going on with you. And so how do we look at this mirrored reflection and learn so we can become stronger within our own self, so we can grow in our expanded heart? How do we do that? And that's done through our practice. It's done through our vulnerability. It's done through our willingness to see the truth. And the truth, let's not get confused about the truth. I know a lot of people think facts are truth. Facts are not truth. Facts are a perception of something that you've been told is the truth, which could be based on a lie. So let's not get in this mind loop of facts are truths. The truth is a frequency, and you're either aligned into it or you're not. And that's how it works. And there's no judgments on where you're at in your alignment to the truth frequency, because that's your experience. And your experience is going to be always based on your perceptions. Okay, so no response is a response. Oh, it's raining. Okay, we're having a heat wave here. I'm in my tank top. Well, Kevin, I'm glad that you're inside and not in the rain. Okay, so no response is a response. So let me just say, how you perceive the person who is not responding is going to be based on your emotional maturity. And that could be really difficult for a lot of people, because we think we are emotionally mature until we're challenged, right? And then we realize, oh, maybe I could have handled that different. So let's just look at no response is a response. What meaning are you choosing to give to the no response? Does it have meaning if you don't give it meaning? Meaning, no response is a response. Do you have to give it meaning, or can you just accept that it is what it is? They haven't responded yet. Maybe they're processing, maybe they're in their own world, maybe they've got some things to deal with that you have no idea about. Maybe you make all of these ideas and these stories in your mind about this other person, but what's really important, and the only thing that really matters, is how you are relating to your personal experience of no response. So are you taking it as an assault? Are you taking it as an attack? Because we have talked about on this channel before, silence being a tool and a weapon that's used against people, especially in families, to hurt them, to cause them pain in some ways. And a lot of people who are wounded and still not healed will use these techniques to hurt another. So the only way you can be hurt by no response is to agree to be hurt by no response, right? So if you're not in agreement with being hurt over not getting a response, well then there's no response, there's no hurt, right? But the moment you go into being hurt by somebody else's behavior now, or lack of response, so we don't know what the response is. That a behavior, or is that just no response? What are we making it, right? So you can see how insane and crazy we can get in our minds about no response is a response. Oh, Kevin, you asked about my dog, and now she needs to go to the bathroom. So hold on, I'll be right back. Straight to fine. Straight to fine. Okay, she's coming. She did a big girl potty. Come, Ra. I'll show you. You guys haven't seen Ra. She just had a good potty. Come here. She just went to the groomer. Say hello. Hello. Say hi. This is Ra. Okay. So Ra always responds with it wanting a treat. If I do a no response, she's going to let me know she wants a response. So training, right? How are we conditioned? That's Ra, R-A. She's so cute. So look at even our conditioning. That's a great topic too, because how have we been conditioned by our families with our responses, or a lack thereof? Like maybe you grew up in a family where it was acceptable and even conditioned to give the silent treatment, or maybe it was accepted or conditioned to, I respond when I respond, and it doesn't matter. It's so interesting. So no response is a response, and how you and what meaning you give that lack of response is based on your perceptions, your story, your narrative of whatever is happening. Now, in corporate, this happens all the time. People will get so upset when their emails don't get responded to, or when their requests are not adhered to. Oh, hold on one second. Sorry. I left the door open for 1 minute or two, not even 2 minutes, and there's a fly that start to come in. So when you catch yourself going into these stories about the non-response, that's when you can really see what's going on for you. Are you insecure? Are you unsure? Are you comfortable going into the unknown within yourself? Are you in connection with your heart? Is your heart telling you there's anything to do? Because oftentimes the stories in our mind about what other people are or are not doing will take us away from our own personal alignment. And that goes for whether you're at work, in an email, or at a meeting, and people don't react or respond to you. What are they reflecting back to you? That's always a question that I ask. Like, what is this situation reflecting back? What do I need to learn here? How do I grow through this situation? Is there a pattern here that's familiar that I can break within myself? So those are all different ways that you can look at no response being a response. And then you can decide, do you want to disrupt that pattern within yourself? And how do you disrupt a pattern within yourself? We all do it differently, but are you willing to see a pattern and then disrupt your own pattern? So anyways, I just thought I would jump on here real quick with a quick, short video about no response being a response, and give you a different way to look at communication, your own personal communication, what stories you make up about others that are nonsense and have nothing to do with the other person. They have everything to do with you. So, are you willing to look at the internal relationship that's creating this response? And maybe this no response is like a data point where there's a misalignment, right? Maybe there's just not an alignment. And even though you might want a relationship to have open, honest communication, you can't get to open, honest communication on your own. It needs to be like a value within that relationship. And some people think they're being open and honest, but really they might be in avoidance. And that might be their primary method of contending with their personal relationships or their work relationships, because they don't have the emotional bandwidth to contend with transparent communication, for example. Taking full responsibility is another example. There's so many different ways to go with this topic of no response being a response. Anyways, I just want to delete whoever is spamming the chat. So I can't read what you're saying. Okay. Yad, are you still here? Taj, good to see you. Kevin, are you still here? Okay. All right. So I just wanted to just do a quick scan and see no response being a response. Is there any is there any aspect that I want to look at? No response being a response. I like to give unique ways and to look at things. So no response being a response. Besides being no, there might be a misalignment and or there might be a realignment occurring. But how do we sit and look at ourselves when we're not getting the results or outcomes that we didn't even know that we wanted, right? Like it seems like a no-brainer that if you send a communication that has a question that you would want a response. But not everybody feels like a communication warrants a response. So I think this goes back to conditioning, programming, how our minds have been programmed without our conscious awareness, and really disentangling from our family constructs, right? So how our family dynamics have influenced our communication. So for me, I was the youngest, and I was always the quietest one, believe it or not. And I was always the one that went to speak what I would say is the truth of a situation before anybody else. So for example, if I did something that I wasn't supposed to do, I would always tell my mom before she found out, because I didn't want to be caught doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing. So how do you know, what was I doing that I wasn't supposed to do? How did I know that it felt wrong? So that guilt and the withholding of information was never something I was willing to contend with. Responsibility for myself. I never wanted to not take responsibility. And I'd say even from a young child, I took on more responsibilities than I probably should have. And so often when we do that, when we take on responsibilities of others, we start absorbing energies like negativity, and those types of things create patterns in our own field without our awareness that creates often these conditions that we don't, like I didn't even know that I expected a response. You know what I mean? It's so interesting. I just think it's so interesting. Because I also have worked with people who, very high executives, and they don't respond to other emails, primarily because they don't want to put things in writing. So their no response is more based out of fear than it is out of being in alignment with the truth. So they don't want to misstep or say something that'll bite them. And how often does this happen in personal relationships as well? Probably more often than people are willing to admit. And so people go into this tenor of avoidance. And this avoidance often becomes a suppression. And this suppression often is, in some ways, an oppression. And these are emotions that never really get acknowledged, or harmonics that don't really get acknowledged very often, except to say, you oppress me, you suppress me, when oftentimes the suffering is self-propelled. So that's why I asked in the very beginning of this, no response is a response, is what is it really, what is this reflecting to you? What is it mirroring back to you? What is it that you're wanting? If you're needing a response, did your request go out asking for a response? And if you did ask for a response and you didn't get what you want, at least from my experience, asking more than once is always necessary because people are busy. They're bombarded. So if it's really important and you need a response, then it's on you to continue the communication and the conversation. For me, oftentimes I like to accept that if somebody is not responding, then I'm trying to just be in my heart and really feel if it's required for me to reach out in some way. Anyway, I just wanted to keep this video short and say hello, hello, hello. And I hope you guys are having a great day. And if you are watching this on the replay, please let me know in the comments. And for those of you who leave a comment, I appreciate you. I see you. And sending lots of love. Hope you have a great day. Bye.